Tighten up.
Yep.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
After working hard at the gym, you need a mattress that works as hard as you do. Spinalign has engineered the perfect mattress for you and your active lifestyle. Don't compromise your recovery with inferior sleep. Order your Spinalign mattress today.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, IABB, pros, news, whatever is on your mind in or outside of the bodybuilding world, it is all on the table. This is a special day for RxMuscle, and for those of you wondering why, well, 12 years ago today, exactly 12 years ago today in 2009, RxMuscle put up its first ever upload to YouTube. It was the beginning, the official beginning of what you know now today as RxMuscle, with everything that we have on the website, on the YouTube, on social media, everything that we have going on, everything that we have developed with you, the fans, the lifeblood of RxMuscle over the course of the last 12 years. Well, today it is the 12-year anniversary. So now bringing Dave Palumbo. Dave, I know you just recorded an episode of After Hours. I know you guys tossed around some stories from the last 12 years, but, you know, for all the hard work that it is that we put in, and, you know, the relationship that we've developed with RX Nation, today is a special day, 12 years for RxMuscle.
Yeah, you know, the main point I kind of drove home with the on the After Hours show is that, you know, even though we were goofing around the whole time, was that we weren't afraid to evolve and change. And that was the key to our success, because most websites, most social media, you know, there was no social media when we started, but most social media platforms now don't survive if they can't evolve and change with the times. And that's something we always did. You know, we started out where contest coverage was the most important thing ever. I was initiating the first TV programming, you know, that no one was doing at the time. Then we did the first live streaming TV programming no one had done at the time. And then I moved away from contest coverage, you know, at least covering everything, just the main shows we stuck to, because I just didn't see anything there. And that was a smart move. And we focused exclusively on original programming that no one had, Iron Debate and Versus and, you know, Heavy Muscle TV, Muscle in the Morning, you know, Guru Talk, all these original programs. Obviously, I met you at some point during that time, and we really worked very hard, you and I, on putting together original programming. Matter of fact, Ask Dave was your idea, and it's probably one of our most popular, enduring shows that we have on here. And the key was continue to provide information, entertain, of course, but create, you know, thought-provoking type shows where topics could be debated openly, because, you know, our moniker has always been The Truth Hurts, and we never really changed or veered off of that course, even though we've gotten in trouble, you know, maybe for having big mouths over the years. The key is that we've been consistent. We've always been there, and we're like your psychiatrist. Every week we're there for that session. You know, you could always depend on RxMuscle. You could always depend on, you know, all the radio shows. I don't think we missed this. I didn't miss a single radio show. And
Nope.
Now we're on video also for the whole 12 years. So every weekend we've done one. So we have perfect attendance as far as that's concerned. And that's something that people really respected and really, you know, appreciate. And I think even to today, we not have the biggest audience, but we have a very big audience. I mean, we don't have the biggest, and that's fine, because you know what? We're consistent. We grow consistently every single year, and we get better and better. And we refine things, we change. We're not afraid, like I said, to embrace the new technology and all that. And that's why I think we'll endure as long as that, you know, as long as that's a goal of mine and the whole crew here to do. we'll still be around. And so I hope to do this another 12 years.
So again, on behalf of our entire team, we thank you for everything, all the support, all the feedback, and for sticking it out for us 12 years. And like Dave said, too many, many more. Let's get to the questions. The first 2 questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, Dave, in your cycle suggestions, you say to rotate compounds of EQ test, Tren test, and Deca test. Does it matter the order for 8 weeks of each? And if a specific order is important or suggested, how come?
Yeah, it's really arbitrary, what compounds you run first, second, third. I find that, by switching the anabolic compounds, in other words, you have testosterone as a base, okay? If you're trying to put on mass, okay, testosterone is your main muscle building hormone. When combined with an anabolic, we create this synergism that we've talked about before, 1 + 1 = 5. They augment each other. The key, however, I felt, and I've done this for a long time, and really most of my data has been garnished on myself, is that if you change the anabolic compounds every 6 to 8 weeks, you seem to continue to make progress. So in other words, they all kind of lock into that androgenic receptor or that anabolic receptor on the muscle cell DNA in different ways, in slightly different configurations. And so if you constantly mix it up, it seems like the androgen receptor kind of gets confused and it doesn't downregulate as much. Whereas if you stay on the same thing all the time, eventually your body just stops kind of responding to it. You'll never stop responding to testosterone because testosterone is what your body makes and it locks into that receptor perfectly. The anabolic drugs lock in different configurations. It's like having a key that fits into the hole, but it doesn't take up the entire lock, so to speak. So we kind of attack the receptor at different kind of angles, so to speak. This is a very simplistic view, obviously, I'm trying to convey. Which compounds you use first or second or third really doesn't matter. I never was worried about, all right, what's going to kick in fastest, because you know what? If you're doing a 24-week cycle, which is almost 6 months, does it matter if things take 2 weeks a little longer to start working? You're going to be on for 6 months. So don't worry about it. And so, like I said, I always like to use the longer acting compounds and then pepper in some shorter acting compounds here and there, maybe a little trenbolone acetate once in a while, maybe even some masteron, something, propionate, which would be a little faster acting as well. But I always like the longer actings like the Deca Durabolin, Equipoise, injectable D-ball is a good one, which is a little on the faster acting side, but that's not readily available, obviously. Some people, the trenbolone acetate's a little too much for them off season because it bothers the digestive system. So for them, the trenbolone enanthate, the longer acting ester might be a better option. Which ones you do first? I always tell people, whatever you got, start with what. People say, oh, I can't start. I don't have the EQ, and I only have Deca. Well, then start with test and Deca. It doesn't really matter which ones you start with. Eventually you're going to be switching them off anyway. Don't delay your cycle just because you don't have exactly what you need. There's no, with anabolics, it's not like you can really screw it up because there's such long-acting compounds and they take a while to start working that it's not like, oh, I took too much insulin. Oh my God, my blood sugar is going to drop. That doesn't happen with anabolic hormones, anabolic steroids at least. So you don't have to really be too concerned about that.
Second question again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, what's the reason behind your carb rotation diet? Is it not more beneficial to just be pure keto?
I've said this before. I just actually taught my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course. By the way, we had 20 people. It was a great course. I know everyone really loved it. And, the next one people have already been asking me about will probably be in about 2 or 3 months. I'll have to figure out. Or before if I have enough people requesting it. But the thing we were talking about in the Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, what was the question again? I just told myself.
I got to go back. Well, the question is about carb rotation.
Oh, right. Okay, I got you.
Beneficial to eat pure keto, yeah.
Yeah. So now my ketogenic diet, which is a high protein, moderate fat diet, okay, is going to maximize fat loss. So if you want to, say, if you got a person who wants to lose 50 pounds, okay, because they have a lot of body fat in them and they have a short period of time to do it, I would go right into a ketogenic diet with a lot of those people. But for the average person who comes to me and says, Dave, I got a contest in 16 to 18 weeks. Here's the deal. Here's my pictures. Here's everything. I don't start them off on a ketogenic diet. Usually, maybe women, but not, I'm talking about men now. because it's not necessary. So I give them some days of protein and carbs, you know, with more vegetables, you know, fibrous type stuff in there as well. And then some days with protein and fat, so I can see how their body responds to each day. So, because not everyone's body reacts differently to fats and carbs and protein. So I can kind of see, now if they're making really good progress on like 3 days of protein and carbs and then 1 day of protein and fat with no carbs, then I leave them on that. Why should I unnecessarily put them in ketosis? Now, if all of a sudden they're not making progress and I'm reducing the amount of carb days and increasing the fat days, fat and protein days, and they're still, you know, they're losing, but they're not losing effectively, and now they're telling me they're hungry because, you know, their brain is like, you know, they're doing keto essentially, but they're not in ketosis because they're having carbs every third day, I might eliminate the carb day and put them in ketosis completely, and then once a week just give them a cheat meal. So it really depends on how the person reacts. If your main goal is to lose as much fat as possible, absolutely ketogenic right off the bat, because after 3 days and your brain switches into using fats for fuel, you're gonna feel great. It's gonna make it much easier to lose weight. Your insulin levels are gonna be low because you're on a no carb diet. Your GH levels naturally will be high. So you're basically priming your body hormonally from a natural standpoint to be in a fat burning mode. And once again, the main reason why people fail on their diet is because it's too hard. They get moody, they get mood swings, they get low blood sugar, they get all these, you know, different like annoying, you know, things that go along with the diet. You don't get that in ketosis because your blood sugar is always stable, so your brain feels good. You don't feel moody, you don't feel hungry, you don't want to cheat as much, and the urges to eat carbs are not there. So that makes it more, you know, much more likely that you're going to stick to the diet. And like I said, the key when you put someone on a diet is, can they make it through the program? If it's too hard, people will fail 90% of the time. You'll get your hardcore people that you can make them, you tell them to eat, you know, crap and they'll eat it, you know. But for the average person that you're working with, you can't make it too hard. So sometimes the ketogenic approach is a way to go because it takes away urges.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. If you're watching us for the first time here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our segments, videos, interviews, whatever we have coming up. And then, of course, if you like what you're watching, hit the like button. And as always, for the last 12 years, we appreciate your support and couldn't do this without you. Good one here to start us off on our Instagram panel. Could Las Vegas, and specifically, he didn't mention this, but I guess the recent development is Flex Lewis leaving Florida for Las Vegas, setting up the Dragon's Lair gym there. Amongst a host of bodybuilders that have now moved there, could Las Vegas be the new Mecca of bodybuilding?
They said Vegas was going to be the Mecca of bodybuilding, you know, back when Jay moved there originally, and it was for a little while. There was a lot of guys living in Vegas. Look, if you had to pick a place to live, okay, Vegas and Florida seem to be the best places at this point in time because the weather is good, okay? There's a lot of opportunities. The prices of real estate are not through the roof. Vegas, it gets a little cooler in the winter, but obviously it doesn't snow there or anything like that. California used to be great, but now California, with the traffic problems there, and you know the state is shut down because of COVID. No one seems to want to be there. There's too many people there. So I think a lot of the people from California are moving to Vegas. I was surprised that Flex Lewis went from Florida to Vegas, but he must have some opportunities there. At some point, I'd love to interview him and get him on, find out what his impetus was to move there, because I know he had a really nice setup here in Florida. But where he was living in Florida, it was expensive. You know, Boca Raton is not a cheap area, so maybe he couldn't build the gym of the size he wanted and the magnitude he wanted to. Now he's doing that out there in Vegas, which is awesome, obviously. And you know, I think that I think Florida and Vegas are gonna be the two hot spots now of where bodybuilders will congregate because, like I said, because of the weather, because of the freedoms that are afforded there, and because of the prices. You know, if you saw how cheap it was to get a nice house where I live here on the Southwest Florida here in Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, I mean, you'd be nuts not to. You got beautiful weather. It's, you know, it's always warm here. It never gets cold. Okay, you're certainly never going to see snow here. You know, there's never a day where I can't walk out in shorts and a t-shirt ever. You know, maybe at night it might get cold once a year. You know, for one day. That's a great, you know, mindset and feel for a bodybuilder, and that's why guys went to California years ago. But try to drive around, LA, in the middle of the day there, you'll want to blow your brains out. You think New York is bad, it's horrendous. So I think that we're going to see a lot more people migrating to Vegas and to Florida over the next, 4 or 5 years. Will that change at some point? Possibly. People always, find new places and new things that they want to do. But I think Florida is going to be, a lot of people this state is going to probably have too many people pretty soon.
So actually, the next question is relevant to Flex Lewis as well. It's from the Sujit Krish. How effective is stem cell treatment for cartilage repair? I see Flex Lewis recently went to Bioxcellerator Clinic in Colombia to address his joint issues.
Yeah.
He seems to be doing well. Do you personally know anyone who has done stem cells treatment at Bioxcellerator that I can speak to before making my trip to Colombia? And I guess if you have, noted any other bodybuilders that have made this similar journey.
I have a guy in Mexico who has an amazing stem cell clinic who always contacts me. As a matter of fact, he had contacted me when I had interviewed Ronnie Coleman, and he had offered to actually do Ronnie for free. And I think Ronnie finally took him up about a week ago and went down there because he was in a lot of pain. The thing about stem cells is I don't think you're going to get, people think of stem cells, and this is how I originally thought of it, that you're going to regenerate cartilage and regrow tissues and stuff like that. The main benefit of stem cells is reduction in inflammation. People don't realize they're amazing inflammatory reducers, which a lot of times is the cause of pain. If you go to if Ronnie was going to go, or anyone with back pain goes to a pain management clinic, what do? They give you a shot between the facets in your spine, in your vertebral column to reduce the inflammation there, and you get tremendous relief. The problem is it doesn't last, okay, because you're putting cortisone in there essentially. If you can inject stem cells into areas where you have chronic pain, it reduces the inflammation in such a way that there's a healing effect in the sense that it's not just a temporary fix. A lot of times. Sometimes you need to constantly redo it, but they're finding the stem cells are reducing the inflammatory, releasing cells there, and in some way healing the area, but it's not necessarily fixing what's wrong. Ronnie's not going to grow new vertebral processes and new cartilage there. It's just not going to happen. Now, in certain areas, like the knees seem to respond really well, stem cells can create a very, very thin layer of cells over some, areas where you might have bone on bone, or you might have a loss of cartilage. And sometimes that's all it takes is a very microscopic thin layer to create a little more lubrication and take away pain. It's not growing back a new, meniscus in there. I think that's where we haven't got that technology down pat. So I always say, try everything. I exhausted all, modalities before I went and got my shoulders replaced. I tried stem cells twice. I was too far gone at that point. The shoulders, had I gotten it early on, maybe it would have helped. But once again, understand that, the reason they combine stem cells and PRP is because what you're trying to do is kind of reduce the inflammatory effect and the damaging effects of that area, rather than try to reverse it and grow new tissue. I think that, like I said, we haven't got to that point yet. But having said that, whatever works, works. Try it. Everyone's body responds differently to these modalities.
Let's go to Michael Miller. Thoughts on injectable ANA-DROLLL?
I've never used it, and the thought processes is that if you don't have to orally ingest the ANA-DROLLL, then it might be less toxic and you might get less side effects from it. The truth is that you do save that first pass through the liver. Because remember, when anything orally ingest, it has to be digested first, and then it will be broken down a second time when the drug stops working. So you're getting a double pass. However, the stuff in ANA-DROLLL that causes you to lose your appetite, which is the supreme liver, I don't even want to say toxicity, it makes the liver work very hard. So for some reason, when the liver is working too hard on breaking down a drug, its first impetus is not to necessarily be digesting 5 million grams of protein that you're eating. So ANA-DROLLL kills appetite, whether you take it orally or whether you take it injectably. It's probably a little less toxic when you inject it, but you're going to still get the same side effects as far as appetite goes. Now, Dianabol really never really affected my appetite too badly, but once again, it makes it tough to digest your food because it does have to go through the liver twice. I found that injectable Dianabol actually has no appetite suppressing effects, and I felt much better taking the injectable form than I did the oral form. That's probably because Dianabol doesn't really kill your appetite by nature. It might just upset your digestive system a little bit. So to answer your question, I don't think the injectable ANA-DROLLL is going to be better tolerated. It might just be less toxic. I think if you're going to go with an injectable form of an oral, try the Dianabol. That's going to give you some really nice results.
Let's go to. We haven't addressed this yet, I don't think. It's from JJ Nasuti, and I'm sure other people have messaged you regarding this, but over the last few days, there's been, and I don't know if it's real, if it's just pure entertainment. So I don't know if these two just really cannot stand one another, or if they're really taking the UFC fight route where they try to really build up a beef or what have you, and then really sell their next fight or their next contest appearance, and that is Blessing Awodibu and Nick Walker. I don't know if you followed this at all, but like they've been commenting on one another's pictures. I mean, it's gotten to the point where if it's real, they really cannot stand one another. But if it's not real, they're doing one heck of a sell job, I guess, for what amounts to be the New York Pro, which I think is the first show that both of them are going to be competing at. Right.
I know Blessing. I've talked to him before. I don't talk to him on a regular basis, of course. And he's all about showmanship. He's like a little bit of a Kai Green, likes the whole drama and likes to be, very artistic online and do funny skits and stuff like that. I have to believe that he's breaking balls. Now, Nick Walker's also young, so it might have started as like a serious thing. I have a feeling Nick is playing into it for probably the social media, traffic as well. I doubt if you put those two in a room together, they would want to fight each other. I don't think it comes down to that. I think it's just like, hey, we're both rookies in a sense, even though, Nick did compete last year at a pro show, but he won his pro card last year. Blessing hasn't even done a pro show yet, right? So I think they're both kind of in the beginning stages of their pro careers, and so it's kind of cool to call each other out and say, hey, I'm going to beat you, you're going to beat me, and is it getting nasty? Who knows? Some people just take things very personally. I don't know if it's real or it's not, but it's good for entertainment. I guarantee Blessing isn't taking it seriously whatsoever. Whether Nick is or not, he seemed like he had a pretty good personality when I interviewed him as well. So I would say that they're over-dramatizing the whole thing, probably because they know that they're both getting a lot of traffic. Are they upset at each other? Yeah, probably should. At some level, they're probably not thinking like this guy's a cool guy or anything like that. But I think that they're playing it up. I really do.
Jay Ramirez, thoughts about dry needling trigger point for recovery?
I haven't tried that, but it sounds like the idea behind it sounds like it theoretically could work. I mean, breaking up some scar tissue and calcifications and stuff like that. It doesn't sound like it's like a very pleasant therapy. It sounds like it could be a little painful. But I'm all for, like kind of alternative therapies and stuff like that to kind of like stimulate the body to heal itself. So I'm not again. I would say try it. I'm all about exhausting every possible therapeutic, avenue before giving up and saying I got to go and get surgery. You know what I mean? That's something that you don't want to do. That's a last resort, of course. So I've had people tell me that they've had terrific. I had a guy, John Enrico Pica, told me that he had like really bad arthritis in his shoulders and all kinds of calcifications. And he had some crazy like ultrasound therapy where they blasted his shoulders basically, like to the point where they were in agony with like, sound waves that broke up all these like, calcifications and everything like that. And he said he was fine. I mean, he said he was able to lift afterwards with no pain. It was like an amazing type of thing that he had done. I think he had some stem cells done after that, but it worked for him. I guarantee you send 10 other people there and they would have gotten no results from it. So you don't know. Try everything that you possibly can. Explore, alternative therapies. And then when it doesn't work, you can go back to conventional medicine if you need to.
Time for one or two more questions. Fit Squad, how do you know if lower back pain is muscle, spine, or nerve damage?
It's a good question. The first, once again, I just talked about exhausting all avenues. Go get deep tissue massages first and have the person stretch the hell out of you. If that fixes it, then it's muscular. I would go to the chiropractor, get adjusted as well while you're getting the massages. let them x-ray you at the chiropractic so you can see your spine and what's going on there if there is any problems. This way you have the diagnostic data at your disposal. Most of the time for people who work out, and if you're not like old like me, most pain is muscular in nature, meaning that you've been damaging the muscle over and over and over by training it in the gym, and now there's a lot of scar tissue or adhesions in there, and the muscle's just not moving the way it's supposed to because everything's kind of glued together. And you got to get in there. You got to get deep tissue massage on a regular basis when you're at the that elite level of competing, because you're really beating the hell out of your body. And you need someone who's going to go in there and give you therapy. Jay Cutler used to get a massage every day, I think, at one point in his career. Obviously, he had the money to do that. But at least once a week or every 2 weeks you should get an hour and a half massage, because your recovery will be so much better, I can promise you. I was doing that at the height of my career. I was 300 pounds, and so I was in agony. And everyone, this guy I trained with, Tony Campagna, at the gym, said to me, he goes, you got to start getting deep tissue massages. I had never even had a massage ever. And I was in my mid-20s or something like that, and I got my first massage, and my God, it was brutal, but it was like 3 days later, I felt like a new person. So give it a shot.
Last one, Dave. This is I'm not sure if, I mean, I know you haven't talked about it yet, but I'm sure people have been asking you about it. The Lumen device, and I guess for those that don't know what a Lumen device is, it's supposed to essentially read your metabolism, to quote, hack your metabolism. Thoughts on the Lumen device that measures if your body is using fat or carbs as fuel? And are you a believer in the Lumen device?
I don't believe that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think the best way to determine if you're using fat or carbs as fuel is change your diet around. Eat a diet that's higher in fat, lower in carbs. Obviously protein never gets reduced. See how your body responds, and then do the opposite. See how your body responds. You'll know. Believe me, you'll absolutely know. If you really want to know how you handle carbs and fat, get your DNA tested. If you go to my DavePalumbo.com website, we sell these DNA tests. You basically buy the tester from me. You get it, you swab your cheek, you send it in, and then they will call you and they will email you all your results of all your genes. It's like they test a whole bevy of genes related to metabolism and detoxification and everything you can imagine. You'll see, how do I handle carbs? How do I handle fats, genetically speaking? I found out, that I'm a very good fat metabolizer. I handle protein very well. Carbs, so-so. I'm not terrible, but I'm not great. And that's probably why I always, found that a higher fat, high protein diet worked best for me. And that, if I ate too many carbs, my body just didn't function as well because I can't handle it. I also found out that I handled caffeine very well. And I always stayed away from caffeine in my career because I just didn't need it. I just would sleep 10 hours a day. I didn't eat caffeine. And I felt like the stimulants weren't good for blood pressure and heart rate and stuff like that. But, when I stopped sleeping, because I had 3 young kids, and you got to drink a cup of coffee to get through the day, it doesn't bother me at all. And I was very surprised that I had no blood pressure increases, no heart rate increases, and I felt good on it, and it would just wear off, and I would feel great. And it made sense when I saw my DNA. So sometimes if you really want to learn what your body is able to process and not process, check your genes. That's going to be the future. I'm going to do another show on that coming up shortly. How DNA is going to be the future way we determine what foods we eat, what supplements we take, and customizing what you need based on what your genetics tell you. There's no more guessing and trial and error going to be necessary. You're going to actually get your DNA tested, and you can do that now, and you'll know what your body can handle and can't. I have zero ability to digest lactose. My DNA showed me that. I don't have lactase. I don't produce lactase enzyme in my body. If I had known that before, I would have never tried to even drink milk. So these are things you can determine by your DNA, and that I can guarantee you will be the future of every single person. When my kids are older, everything will be their DNA will determine what probably sports I channel them towards, what kind of foods I put into their body, as they get older to maximize their performance. Now you can't tell them what to eat now. You're lucky if they eat a chicken McNugget from McDonald's, but in the future, that's going to be how people determine what they need, what nutritional supplements they need, and what supplements they don't need. That's
going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, 12 years ago today, we put up our first ever YouTube channel, marking the beginning of what you know today as RxMuscle, RxMuscle.com, and everything that we have on YouTube, on social media, and every the community that we have built, a two-way street with the best bodybuilding fans. So again, we thank you. 12 years marks the spot right now, but many, many, many years to go, and a lot more to come, obviously, this week. Later tonight, we're going to have an episode of After Hours. So, of course, the Whack Pack back in action. Episodes of Iron Rage. And then again, if you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. We're doing a lot more live episodes. So Sunday night, Heavy Muscle Radio. Dave brings on Chris Aceto, John Romano, Lee Priest. A lot of fun, very interactive experience. So again, if you're subscribed, you're getting those notifications. You're going to be able to play along as well, depending on whether or not you're up at that time of night. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Baruki. We'll see you next time. Yep, I did that. Yep.